All right, down here at the bottom left, a player who got beaten, or actually destroyed, really, by the best FOU. He is
GSL TricKsteR.
A man of many names. Nice timing push by the best. Just took him out in game 1. And at the top right, we have his opponent, a really strong player from the team, FOU.
Best for you.
Not sure if I can squeeze that out or not. I swear one day I'll have these intros down and won't mess up ever. Okay, so Zalnada Caverns, a map of many builds, many possibilities. And in this matchup in particular, there's so many different builds that both players can do. It's like you can go for, you can even Nexus first on this map. It's very difficult to do, but you can do it. I've seen players do it. Like I've seen MC do it a lot. He actually streamed his ladder for a while and I watched it. He was doing Nexus first all the time on this map. You can do it. You may have to be MC to do it, but you can do it. You can do a 1-gate expand. You can do the 3-gate sentry aggression type of expand. You can do 3-gate pressure into an expand. You can do 1-gate robo. I mean, if you're a Terran player, you can't CC first, that's for sure. But you can gasless expand. You can do 2 barracks pressure. You can do a stim timing push off of 3 barracks. You can go cloak banshees. You can go pre-igniter hellions. So many possibilities. I like that TheBest actually blocks off the scouting probe. It always happens with the AI when you try to walk in if it's walled off. Probe does see it's going to start zapping away, but there's no way you can really finish it off. Now TheBest going to take his SCV, start finishing up that depot so it doesn't get killed too much by that probe. Now the interesting thing about doing that is something that players have done a lot recently. You can block your opponent from seeing what you're doing, and he has no idea if you're taking gas, if you're not, and as you can see, TheBest is not. So he is going to be going for a gasless 1-racks expand. Well, the other possibility is he hides 5 barracks and does a TLO style 6 racks all in. But that's very unlikely. Certainly possible. TricKsteR again, just taking 1 gas. I think he may be trying to decide what he wants to do, how he wants to react to this. And if you do a 1 gas play as Protoss, you still have a lot of options. You can 4-gate even, although a lot of people stopped doing that recently. He may predict that his opponent is going for a gasless expand because you don't normally see that super fast second depot, because when you see the second depot, it's a little investment you have to make because you have to make the depot a little bit faster. It's 100 minerals you have to invest for a second to block the scout. But a lot of people have been doing it recently. But when you do that, it may kind of hint to TricKsteR like, oh, okay, you invested in that depot, you really want to block me out, so if you can invest in that depot that quickly, maybe you didn't take any gases. Maybe you saved up those minerals. So here comes a Marine Scout. He was checking around, wants to see if TricKsteR is hiding anything, because of course last game we saw TricKsteR was quite the TricKsteR hiding an expansion. Looks like TricKsteR is just going to do a very normal 1-gate expand here. TheBest trying to check around, like I said, with that Marine. Now, back at home, TheBest has made his command center. It's finishing up. He's powered up 2 barracks. Started both of his gases immediately as well. And looks like he's just going to stick with those 3 barracks, secure his expansion safely before really starting to get techie. Probe checks. Do you have an expansion? No, you don't. Going to hide a pylon over there. That's a really cool move. You put a pylon there, you can actually spot when the expansion goes down. You can also warp units in there to harass later if your opponent doesn't do anything about it. A lot of different options you have with that pylon. It's only a 100 mineral investment. Not too huge of a deal. Back at home, TricKsteR is powering up his gateways as well. Added 2 gateways. Probably going to add a robotics here pretty soon. Marine does spot that pylon. But warp gate research is done, so it looks like he should be able to warp in some units to deal with that. In fact, sending some stalkers from his main base there as well. So that Marine is not long for this world unless he unless he just runs away right now. I don't think he's going to escape. Stalkers don't want anyone to leave alive. Now they're actually going to run up here and do a little bit of damage. If he controls these properly, he actually can pick off tons of Marines. Because like I said, Stalkers outrange Marines. They have armor. Forces them to lower that depot. This is a really awesome move. I love this by TricKsteR. Moving forward with these Stalkers. Micros the weakened Stalker back, but does still lose it. When your opponent doesn't have any Marauders out, you can just use Stalkers like crazy. And what's he going to do? His Marines just can't engage you if you micro your Stalkers properly. Going to pick off your depots. Got to make a bunker. You just absolutely have to. Zealot going to tank some damage, give some vision here. Taking out as many Marines as he can. Wants to target down the Marauder if he can get away with it, but he just can't quite get it. It's really nice pressure. When you know that your opponent goes for a fast CC like this, or if you scout up the ramp and see only Marines, always, always, always pressure with some Stalkers, because you can get away with it. Now making 2 sentries in the Zealot. He wants to get that Guardian shield up. So the Stalkers can tank even more damage because Marines just do not do very well against Stalkers. Stalkers already have an armor. You add that Guardian Shield armor in it, makes the Stalkers so good against Marines. Not to mention, of course, they're outranging. That I've mentioned about 6 times, but not to mention that. Woo, fast Ghost Academy going up for the best. So he really, really wants to put some pressure on after he gets that command center out. He gets some ghosts out there. EMP sentries. May also be getting those ghosts so they can break down the ramp, because if your opponent has a lot of sentries at the bottom of the ramp but you don't have medevacs, fact of the matter is you can't leave your base. If he just keeps force fielding, you can't get out. But if your opponent EMPs your sentries, then you can. +1 armor going up for TricKsteR in the background, as well as the Twilight Council. 4th gateway going up as well. His Nexus is completely saturated. He's taken one of his gases there as well. So at this point, TricKsteR is really ahead. He's got his supplies a little bit ahead, but that's not even the important part. The important part is he's got 10 more SCVs, or 10 more workers rather than his opponent. He's powering up some gateways, he's getting his upgrades, and he's got his opponent completely contained. I mean, what is the best going to do with this command center? Get vision with it? Actually, that was... I was trying to think of what to say about that, but that was really silly. There's actually no reason for him to try to move that command center down just yet. All right, now he's got the ghosts out. He's got 2 of them. He's going to want to try to EMP those sentries. If he uses the command center for vision and EMPs those sentries, it should be fine. But nice, blocks it. Does have enough for 1 more force field. Oh, nice EMP, hits that sentry, and now the contain has been broken. TricKsteR is going to have to get out of there. Oh, he warped into another sentry. Nice. Force fields it 1 more time. In fact, he's going to warp in 1 more sentry. Is the sentry going to get there in time, though? Oh! No, does not get there in time. Most of the units get down. That's clearly enough to deal with the forces that TricKsteR has out here. He does block some of them in, but it doesn't matter. He's going to lose a lot of forces here. And that's one way to throw away a huge advantage. Definitely did not need to stay there after he realized, okay, I might barely force field him off again. No, that's when you leave. Because if you mess it up, you lose a ton of forces. Time to go, but he didn't go. Lost a lot. Supplies still pretty similar. But with all that extra mining time, TricKsteR did, he's got a lot more money in the bank. He's got 50 probes and just 35 SCVs. TheBest not been keeping up with his SCV production as well. Of course, he doesn't have Chrono Boost to deal with that. Nice EMP hits all those units as they retreat. Back at home, TricKsteR does have a few more units, but a lot of those units do not have shields. And remember that TheBest does have stim. He's going to stim forward and run forward. EMPing all of those Stalkers over there on the edge. And now, if he just micros correctly, TricKsteR could be in a lot of trouble. All the Zealots are dead, and now the Marauders just have free reign on those Stalkers. Nice. Blink finished up, so he does have the ability to blink back. A lot of these units on very low hit points. The Stalkers could chase. Nice EMP hits all the Stalkers again. Going to try to target as many of them down as he can, but he's lost a lot of probes. Not going to save his Ghost, a little bit surprising, and it looks like he actually may clean up these Stalkers, but more Zealots have warped in. Loses the Ghost. Really surprised he didn't try to save those Ghosts. Uh-oh, bad rally by TheBest, trying to move some of these Marauders forward. I think he probably should have gone home with those, but actually, with no Stalkers out, he can kite the Zealots forever, doing more and more damage to the probe line. TricKsteR needs to warp in some more ranged units because the Zealots just are not cutting it at this point. That 1 Stalker and Sentry helping out significantly, but here come even more units for TheBest. He wants to end this game now. Picks off another Zealot. More Sentries warping in. Nice! Picks off one of the Sentries that were warping in, and now TheBest takes a 10 supply lead. Cleaned up a lot of those workers. And basically, when TricKsteR was warping in all those Sentries, that's a lot of gas spent, so it makes it very difficult for him to tech. But meanwhile, he has actually gotten charged. He did get +1 for his attack. He already had +1 armor when that attack occurred, so he has 1/1 upgrades right now. And TheBest, he's got a lot of Marauders out, lost his Ghosts, but the crucial thing are those two flying units. Just came across the screen right there, those yellow ones. They're called medevac dropships. When you have stim and medevacs and your opponent doesn't have AoE damage, it gets pretty hard to deal with it. Factory is spotted here in the middle of the map. Trying to see if TricKsteR is moving out. Once you already have your starport up and you don't really plan on making a second one for a while, you can kind of throw that factory away for scouting. Gives you good opportunities like this one to run forward and try to do damage. He's got some Ghosts here. Is he going to EMP? Oh, not enough energy on those Ghosts. The Ghosts actually trying to stay alive. The medevac does prioritize those Ghosts, though. One of them died, but the second one was lifted up by the medevac. Has to be very careful with how he engages this. If you have a Protoss army engaging when your opponent has medevacs, once you reach that point where you're just not killing your opponent, you're doing damage, the medevacs are just going to out-heal the DPS. You're going to lose all your stuff, so you got to be very careful. TricKsteR pulling back just at the right moment. Factory spotted again. He's trying to take that factory out in the middle of the map. Did get a shot of the best base. As you can see, he's up to 4 barracks now. He's got that reactor at starport. Archon's being made back at home for TricKsteR. He did have that Templar Archives, but he knows if his opponent tries to attack him right now, he's not going to have enough time to research Storm, so he hasn't started that Storm research yet. Just getting those Archons out, because Archons do pretty well against Bio. They do bonus damage to biological units. Very unique in that regard. Factory effect was a little, a little glitchy there. Factory parts stand on top of that Stalker's head. So, right now for supplies, it's dead even. TricKsteR, though, lost a lot of important units. He lost a lot of gas, important sentries. Third base is going up for the best. It's actually almost done. TricKsteR kind of thinking about taking a third base here, as you can see. Wants to break down those rocks. TheBest, it looks like he wants to take his third safer expansion, but he could, if he wanted to, take the gold base. He's got a pretty strong amount of units, and TricKsteR, like I said, he doesn't have Storm yet. In fact, he's not even researching it. He's just sticking with those Archons right now. We've got Charged Zealots, Stalkers, and Archons, though. No one always even needs Storm. All depends on how many Mirage your opponent has. The concave he has, because if your opponent has a better concave than you and you just don't have Storm and he's kiting your Zealots, it gets really bad. It gets really, really bad. In this matchup, it's a matchup where if you don't win the fight convincingly as a Protoss player, you have to be ready to win the fight. And I'm not saying that Protoss have an advantage in this matchup, but I mean Terrans rather. But I would like to say if you don't win the fight convincingly, hold that thought. Dropship is spotted. Uh-oh, he doesn't have vision of his own base to jump up there and blink his Stalkers up, so he's got to run the long way around. Actually, he's not even sending his forces back at all. Gonna target down this pylon, which will unpower the Cybernetics core and 2 of those gateways. Now he's targeting down pros, but here come the Charged Zealots. Looks like he's not going to be able to get over there because the dropship falls. The Zealots chasing around. Killed a Warping End Sentry. Killing a few more probes as well, but those units do go down. +2 finishes up. And in fact, TheBest, if he was extremely observant, would have noticed that. Finished up right as he was getting into there. Templar Archive still not researching Storm, so TricKsteR just wants to stick with this Archon tech. Using the High Templar only for Archons. In fact, he's not leaving any isolated Templar. Doesn't want to use any feedbacks. You may want to consider it, though, because there are a lot of ghosts out on the map. Feedback quite good against medevacs as well. You can use Templar defensively, snipe medevacs that come into your base. And TheBest, he's just now about to land his Command Center. That Command Center has been up for a while. Scans, wants to make sure that it's safe. And uh-oh, some ghosts going to come forward here. He wants the EMP. Fortunately, though, was not able to seize that opportunity. Really similar supplies right now, but TricKsteR has not even started a third Nexus. And in fact, that's what TheBest is moving over here to scout for. He wants to see, oh, do you have a third base? Oh, nice blink forward. Snipes a ghost. EMP actually is dodged. And dodging an EMP with blink is like dodging a bullet. I wonder what that's like. You know, you're like, see an EMP coming, you see the rocket, and you just blink out just in time. And here he comes down to that third base location, picks off a pylon. He's actually just going to run up here. He's got a really good position. Nice EMPs, hitting some sentries. Going to hit some of these Archons as well. Wants to target down one of those gates. He can just back away if he needs to. Stalker's trying to blink forward. Ghost a little bit vulnerable here to the Archons. 2 ghosts fall. The third ghost falls as well. That Colossus is out. And TheBest may have overextended himself here. He may have just realized, should have realized, oh, you've got a lot of units there. I should just back up. But now he's starting to lose a ton of forces as TricKsteR pulls ahead in the supply count. And actually, TheBest going to send some reinforcements over here, but I don't think he has enough. He shouldn't have even sent these forward. Now he's going to lose his entire army. And whoa, TricKsteR, man. Don't attack him if he's got a strong army, because you may think you might be able to pick off a Nexus, pick off a Gateway maybe. No, TricKsteR, he's got your number. In fact, he's going to target down this Command Center himself. These SCVs probably don't really have anywhere to run. They're going to try to run around the back. There's so many splash damage units. He's got the Colossus. He's got 2 Archons in there. Right now, 133 supply for TricKsteR. 97 supply for TheBest. TheBest going to try to force the cancel on this Nexus. He may be able to do it. He's got some Marauders over here. Nexus getting low. And it looks like he is actually just going to force the cancel. Looks like he almost killed it, but not quite. Going to lose all of his Mars. Tries to get the Colossus. Doesn't even get that. Losing so many units here. TricKsteR looking like he is in a pretty good spot. He was looking like he was kind of down. Didn't have that third base up. His opponent had that third base up and running. But TheBest got a little too aggressive. You don't have to be that aggressive when your opponent doesn't have a third base and you do. When you see, oh, you didn't make a Nexus yet, you can just leave. You don't actually have to try to force your way into an engagement. He didn't control his Ghost properly. Now he just doesn't really have an army to deal with the army that TricKsteR is moving forward with here. Some nice EMPs, but will they be enough? Zealot's taking out all those Ghosts. The Archons are getting pretty close to it. GG. Wow. A little bit of a turnaround there. TheBest having a significant advantage, having that faster third base, but tried to be a little too aggressive. It's a big problem that a lot of players have, not only players in general, but pro players even. As you can see, kind of have that problem. And Shoei coming in there, telling him, it's all right, you'll be fine. He's probably just telling him, you shouldn't have attacked there. And Shoei's like, yeah, I realize now, I know, I realize my mistake. That's a lot of times for coaches or pro gamers, that's how the conversation goes. Come in there and you tell them, hey, you did great, but you just made this one mistake, and the player's always like, yeah, I know, I wish you were telling me when I was attacking that I shouldn't have done it. Well, I understand my mistake now, and it's always good to have coaches in there. Now, TSL coach Lee coming in there. He's actually the friendliest coach I've met here since I've been here. Really, really nice. Talks to foreigners. His English isn't that good, but he always makes an effort to talk to foreigners whenever you talk to him. It's, of course, the TSL coach talking to TricKsteR in there. Here at the GSL, will we see TricKsteR close this series out after a nice comeback? Or are we going to see TheBest come back and win the series? I actually can't predict myself. After the first game, I thought, oh, TheBest is pretty good, but that was a nice timing push. Not really sure. And then the second game, TricKsteR showed us that even from behind, he can come back. And I was thinking, at the beginning of that game, wow, TheBest took out a lot of his stuff. TheBest is pretty good. I think TheBest is going to close the series out easily, but made a few mistakes there, and TricKsteR capitalized on that. The map is going to be dual site, a relatively interesting map. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's a medium-sized map like Xel'Naga Caverns. A lot of different bases up there, some gold bases as well. A lot of map control situations in the middle. Map control very important on this map, so you see a lot of that bouncing back and forth. So who's going to take Game 3 and close out the series to advance to the round of 16? We'll find out here in just a minute at the GSL Super Tournament. I am Wolf, and I don't have a co-caster.